Hey, this is good. Another shh. Quiet, please. Thank you for being quiet, class. Anyway, hello, class. Welcome to this week's filmmaker lesson. So, as you may know, that I might not be here at Lowe's College. I'll be here at Bisbee, Arizona, USA, to go stay at the Copper Queens Hotel. All right, let's get things started. So first, we will be doing home video releases. On today, we will be doing Blue Chips 1994 film. Here's a plot in this film. Pete Bell, a college basketball coach for the Western University Dolphins in Los Angeles, is under a lot of pressure. His team is not winning as often as it once did, and his successful program needs to attract new star players. But the brightest stars of the future, the so-called blue chip prospects, are secretly being paid by other schools. This practice is forbidden in the college game, but Pete is desperate after a losing season. A school booster, greedy friend of the program, Happy will stop at nothing to lend these star high school players for Western's next season and gets the okay from their coach to do so. This includes offering a new car to the gigantic neon Bulldogs shack, a house and job to the mother of Butch McRae, and the tractor to the father of farm boy Ricky Rowe, as well as a bag filled with cash. With sports writer Ed suspecting a scandal, Pete continues to be contaminated by demands from the players and a dirty association with the booster. His estranged wife, a former guidance counselor, agrees to tutor Neon, who has below average grades, but she feels betrayed when Pete lies to her about the new athletes receiving legal inducements to attend the school. Pete comes to realize that one of his senior players, Tony, a personal favorite, had shaved points in a game his freshman season. Conspiring to beat a gambling point spread after carefully reviewing a video from a freshman season game depicting Tony's unusual behavior. Pete is disgusted at what he and his program had become. Western University has a big nationally televised game coming up versus Indiana, the number one team in the country, coached by Bobby Knight. After winning the game, Pete could not bear the guilt of having cheated. At a press conference, he confesses to the entire scandal and resigns as head coach. Leaving the press conference in the arena, Pete walks past a small playground with kids playing basketball. He approaches them, helps coaching them. And the pilot later reveals that the university would be suspended from tournament play for 3 years. Pete continued to coach, but at the high school level, Tony graduated and played pro ball in Europe. Ricky Rowe got injured and returned home to run the family farm, and Leon and Butch dropped out of college, but both now play in the NBA. Alright, on tomorrow, we will be doing Breakdown 1997 film. Here's a plot to this film. Jeff Taylor and his wife, Amy, drive cross-country and from Boston to San Diego in their new Jeep Grand Cherokee. Okay, shut up, please. While driving, Jeff narrowly avoids colliding with a beat-up pickup truck. Later, at a gas station, Earl, the driver of the pickup truck, confronts Jeff and they exchange hostile words shortly after the couple resume their lunch journey. Their car breaks down on a vacant road in the middle of a desert, leaving Jeff in the Jeep with the Jeep. Amy accepts the ride from the passing trailer truck, driving to get into a nearby diner and call for help. Jeff eventually discovers that someone has tampered with the Jeep's battery connections. After reconnecting them, he drives to the diner only to discover that no one has seen Annie. Jeff sees a trucker on the road and forces him to stop, but the trucker claims he has never seen Jeff or Annie. Jeff then hails a passing sheriff named Boyd, but a brief search of a truck yields no sign of Emmy. The trucker, Red Bar, is allowed to leave and Boyd tells Jeff to see the deputy in the town of Brackett. After speaking with the deputy, Jeff goes back to the diner. Billy, a mentally impaired mechanic, informs Jeff that Emmy left with some men, but refuses to speak with the police, claiming that they are involved. Jeff rushes to the location Billy mentioned, but is ambushed on the back road by Earl. He escapes by driving his jeep into a river and swimming away. After reaching the shore, Jeff circles back to watch Earl and another accomplice, I pull his jeep out of the water. He is then discovered and knocked out by Billy. When Jeff awakens, he is confronted by Billy, who find mental impairment earlier, and Earl. The leader is Red Bar, who informs Jeff that he wants the $90,000 in Jeff's bank account in exchange for Amy's life, ordering him to withdraw the money in the nearby town of Brackett. Realizing he only has $5,000, Jeff attempts to alert the bank manager of his situation. However, paranoid that Reed's group is keeping an eye on him, Jeff abandons the idea and steals marketed money, ribbons, and a letter opener. He uses the money ribbons to pack stacks of $1 bills between two $100 bills. Jeff is then instructed to leave town, where Earl picks him up and binds him with duct tape. Earl begins gloating about how Jeff and his wife were easy targets. Now he tampered with their jump jeep, and that his group intends to kill them if the $90,000 assumed amount is not obtained. Jeff cuts himself free with the letter opener and stabs Earl. After a brief struggle, Jeff takes over the vehicle, finds Earl, and tortures him to reveal his rendezvous with Red at a local truck stop. They pass Boyd, who sees the swerving pickup and stops the vehicle. When Jeff exits the truck with Earl's gun, Boyd mistakes the situation and forces him to lie down. Earl frees himself and shoots Boyd with a concealed gun before Earl can shoot Jeff. A wounded Boyd shoots and kills him. Jeff uses Boyd's radio to call for an ambulance and rushes to the truck stop. At the stop, Jeff sees Red and then stows away under the trailer of his truck. At 6 a.m. the next morning, Red arrives at his farm. Jeff sneaks into the barn, discovering evidence that Red has a history of robbing and killing people and that his real name is Warren. AI and Billy arrive at the found engaged Emmy, where they then lock her in the freezer in the barn cellar, leaving her to die. Unable to open the cellar door, Jeff finds a gun and demands a cellar key from Red. When he is distracted by Red's son Deke, Billy escapes. Jeff forces AI, Red, and his wife Arlene, and Deke to release Emmy, then locks them in the cellar. Jeff and Emmy steal a pickup truck and flee, while Billy returns to free his complices who each pursue the Taylors in their own vehicles. During the pursuit, Billy is killed in an explosion when Jeff forces his car off the road. Shortly after, the trailer from Red's truck detaches, causing AI to fatally crash into it undeterred. Red attempts to push Jeff and Amy's vehicle off a bridge with his truck, trapping Amy's leg underneath the dashboard. Jeff rushes out of the vehicle and into Red's prime mover, where a struggle over the steering wheel forces Red's truck over the edge, leaving it dangling on the steel bridge support. Red finds a chain and uses it to fend off Jeff. Jeff bites Red on the suspended prime mover, eventually pulling the chain Red was holding and hurling the latter down the rocks below. Jeff frees Amy from the dashboard. Seeing that Red survived the fall, Amy pulls the automatic shifter on their pickup truck, causing the suspended prime mover to fall and crush him to his death. Sitting on the edge of the bridge beside their mangled pickup, Jeff and Amy embrace each other, waiting for the police to arrive. Alright. On Wednesday, we will be doing The Clockwork Orange by One Studio and Distribution Services film. 1971 film. Here's the plot to this film. A futuristic Briton, Alex DeLarge, is the leader of a gang of droogs. Georgie, Dim, and Pete, one night, after getting intoxicated on drug-laden Milk Plus, they engage in an evening of ultra-violence, which includes a fight with a rival gang. They drive to the country home of writer Frank Alexander and trick his wife into letting them inside. They beat Alexander to the point of crippling him, and Alex rapes Alexander's wife while singing in the rain. The next day, while trot from school, Alex is approached by his probation officer, Pierre Deltoy, who is aware of Alex's activities and cautions him. Alex's droogs express discontent with petty crime and want more equality and high-yield thefts, but Alex asserts his authority by attacking them. Later, Alex invades the home of a wealthy cat lady and bludgeons her with a phallic sculpture while his droogs remain outside. On hearing sirens, Alex tries to flee, but Dim smashes the bottle in his face, stunning Alex and leaving him to be arrested. With Alex in custody, Deltoid gloats that the cat lady died, making Alex a murderer. He is sentenced to 14 years in prison. 2 years into the sentence, Alex eagerly takes up an officer to be the test subject for the Minister of the Interior's new Ludovico technique and an experimental inversion therapy for rehabilitating criminals within 2 weeks. Alex is strapped into a chair, his eyes are clamped open, and he is injected with drugs. He is then forced to watch films of sex and violence, some of which are accompanied by the music of his favorite composer, Ludwig van Beethoven. Alex becomes nauseated by the film's end. Fearing the technique will make him sick upon hearing Beethoven, begs for an end to a treatment. 2 weeks later, the minister demonstrates Alex's rehabilitation to the gathering of officials. Alex is unable to fight back against an actor who taunts and attacks him and becomes ill, wanting sex with a topless woman. The prison chaplain complains that Alex has been robbed of his free will. The minister asserts that the Ludovico technique will cut crime and alleviate crowding the prisons. Alex is released from jail, only to find that the police have sold his possessions as compensation to his victim, and his parents have let out his room. Alex encounters an elderly vagrant Well, he attacked years earlier, and the vagrant and his friends attack him. Alex is saved by two policemen, but is shocked to find they are his former droogs, Jim and Georgie. They drive him to the countryside, beat him up, and nearly drown him before abandoning him. Alex barely makes it to the doorstep of a nearby home before collapsing. Alex wakes up to find himself in the home of Mr. Alexander, who is now using a wheelchair. Alexander does not recognize Alex from the previous night attack, but knows of Alex and the Ludovico technique from the newspaper. He sees Alex as a political weapon and prepares to present him to his colleagues. While bathing, Alex breaks into singing in the rain, causing Alexander to realize that Alex was the person who assaulted his wife and him. While with help from his colleagues, Alexander drugs Alex and locks him in an upstairs bedroom. He then plays Beethoven's Ninth Symphony loudly from the floor below. Unable to withstand the sickening pain, Alex attempts to suicide by jumping out the window. Alex wakes up in a hospital with broken bones while being given a series of psychological tests. He finds that he no longer has aversions to violence and sex. The minister arrives and apologizes to Alex. He offers to take care of Alex and get him on the job in return for his cooperation with his election campaign and public relations counter-offensive as a sign of goodwill. The minister brings a stereo, and the stereo system playing Beethoven's Ninth. Alex then contemplates violence and has vivid thoughts of having sex with a woman in front of an approving crowd, and thinks to himself, I was cured, all right. All right. On Thursday, we will be doing Cruella 2014-2021 film. Here's the plot to this film. Estella Miller is a creative child with the talent of perfection and a nefarious streak. Estella's mother, Catherine, decides to pull her from school to keep her record clean and move to London. On the way there, she stops at an upper class party to ask for financial assistance. Despite being told to stay in the car, Estella sneaks into the party and then unintentionally attracts the attention of the host's three ferocious Dalmatians. They chase her outside and push Catherine off a cliffside balcony to her death. Orphaned and blaming herself for Catherine's death, Estella runs away to London and befriends street urchins Jasper and Horace who take her in. 10 years later, Estella practices thievery with her friends, honing her fashion skills by designing their disguises. For her birthday, Jasper and Horace get her an entry-level job at the Liberty department store. However, Estella is made a janitor and denied the chance to use her talents. When Estella drunkenly redecorates a window display, the Barons von Hellman, a renowned but authoritarian culture designer, is impressed with Estella's work and offers her a coveted job at the Baroness fashion house. Estella eagerly accepts and gains the Baroness' confidence, although proud that her designs aren't put on display. She eventually notices her boss wearing a necklace that once belonged to Catherine. When the Baroness claims that an employee had previously stolen it, Estella asks Jasper and Horace to help her retrieve the necklace. during the Baroness's upcoming black and white ball. To conceal her identity at the ball, Estella creates an alter ego for herself named Cruella and wears one of the Baroness designs purchased from the vintage clothing store owner named Artie. Cruella steals the spotlight at the ball, buying Jasper and Horace enough time to break into the Baroness's high security vault, only to realize that the Baroness is already running it. Jasper, straying from the original plan, disguises himself as a waiter and releases rats into the party. As panic ensues, Estella manages to swipe the necklace. Noticing that her necklace has been stolen, the Baroness summons her Dalmatian with a dog whistle, causing Estella to realize that the Baroness is ultimately responsible for Catherine's death. Seeking revenge, Estella orders Jasper and Horace to kidnap the Baroness's Dalmatians. Cruella taunts and humiliates the Baroness by upstaging her in extravagant fashions at events and gatherings, gaining notoriety via Estella's childhood friend and columnist, Anita Darling. The Baroness, eager to strike back, fires her liar Roger dearly when he fails to find a way to do so. Cruella's haughty and arrogant behavior increasingly discomforts Jasper and Horace as well as the Baroness. Estella sabotages the Baroness' spring collection show and simultaneously stages her own show on Regent's Park, while wearing a fake Dalmatian coat to taunt the Baroness more. Having realized that Estella and Cruella are the same person, the Baroness has Jasper and Horace arrested and sets fire to their home. Estella is left to die in the blaze, but is rescued by the Baroness's valet Jean. Estella discovers the necklace unlocks a box containing her birth records. She learns that the Baroness is her biological mother. At her birth, the Baroness ordered John to have the infant Estella murdered so she could focus solely on her career and keep her late husband's inheritance. John instead gave the baby to Catherine, one of the Baroness's maids, who raised Estella in secret. Cruella breaks Jasper and Horace out of the prison and reveals the truth, recruiting them Artie and John for her final scheme. The quintet sneaks into the Baroness' charity gala, and Estella meets her on the cliffside balcony, revealing she is the Baroness' daughter. The Baroness finds embracing Estella before pushing her over the edge, but then realizes that her guests have been led outside and witnessed the event. Estella survives with a hidden parachute, and with Estella symbolically dead, adopts her Cruella a prisoner for good. The Baroness is arrested, and Cruella inherits Hellman Hall and to Hell Hall, moving with the rest of the quintet. In the mid-credit scene, Cruella delivers 2 Dalmatian puppies named Pungo and Perdita to Roger and Anita, respectively. Now an aspiring songwriter, Roger begins composing the song Cruella de Vil. Alright, on Friday, we will be doing F9, the Fast Sega 2021 film. Here's a plot to this film. In 1989, Jack Torito, father, and Dominic and Jacob participates in a late model race. With his sons working in the pit crew, Dom argues with a rival racer, Kenny Lindar, about his dirty tactics. During the race, Lindar's car clips Jack's bumper, causes his car to hit a wall and explode, killing him. After the race, Dom is arrested for nearly beating Lindar to death with a wrench. While serving his sentence, he recalls that Jacob had worked on their father's car the day he died and concludes that Jacob killed her father. Upon release, Dom confronts and challenges Jacob to a race, forcing him to leave town when he loses. In the present, 2 years after the confrontation against cyber-terrorist Cypher, Dom is retired and raising his son Brian with his wife Letty Ortiz, Roman Pierce, Tej Parker, and Ramsey arrived with news that shortly after capturing Cypher, Mr. Nobody's plane was attacked by rogue agents and crashed in Montequinto, Central America. Dom agrees to help them after realizing Jacob is involved. Searching the plane, they find of a device named Iris, which can hack into a computer-controlled system. The team is then ambushed by a private army led by Jacob, who steals the device. The team rendezvous with Michael Stasiak en route to their safe house. Dom's sister Mia arrives to help, and Dom reluctantly allows her to join them. The team learns that Han Lu is connected to Eris, and Letty and Mia go to Tokyo to investigate. Meanwhile, Jacob meets with Otto, his associate and financier. Cypher, who is being held at their base, tells Jacob that the other half of Iris is in Edinburgh. Dom meets his father's former mechanic buddy, who took Jacob and after his exile, and learns that Jacob is in London. Letty and Mia find Han still alive, along with his ward, Ellie, Roman, and Tej. Recruit Sean Buswell, Twinkie, and Earl who has been working on a rocket car in London. Dom meets Queenie Shaw, who gives him Jacob's location. Dom confronts Otto and Jacob, who tells Dom to leave. Otto has Dom arrested, but Lisa, as an old friend of Dom, rescues him. Tej, Roman, and Ramsey join Dom in Edinburgh, where Jacob is using an electromagnet to steal the second Iris device. Tej and Roman find the truck containing the electromagnet. As they fight Otto's men, Ramsey commandeers the truck to chase after Otto. Dom intercepts Jacob, and the two fight throughout the city. Before Otto can extract Jacob, Ramsey runs his car off the road and uses the electromagnet to capture Jacob. At the safe house, Han reveals that he was assigned by Mr. Nobody to protect Ellie and Iris, as Ellie's DNA is in its final component. When one of the Mr. Nobody's agents, later revealed to be Jacob, went rogue, they used Deckard Shaw to fake Han's death and protect Ellie. Otto attacks the safe house and frees Jacob, who reveals to Dom that their father, wanting to escape his debts, was attempted to throw the race on which he died. He had instructed Jacob to tamper with his car. Jacob and Otto kidnap Ellie and take the second Iris device. Otto launches a satellite into orbit, while Jacob and Ellie activate Iris. They begin uploading Iris into the satellite, moving throughout Tbilisi in an armored truck. Dom, Letty, Mia, Ramsey, and Han give chase to stop the upload. As Mia and Han try to breach the truck, Otto betrays Jacob, throwing him off the truck. Dom and Mia save Jacob, and he helps Dom access the truck. Using the rocket car, Tej and Roman enter orbit and destroy the satellite, stopping the upload. Cyber, now working alongside Otto, bombs the truck using a UAV, killing Otto. Dom uses the ricocheting truck to destroy Cyber's drone, forcing Cyber to escape again. Dom and Mia reconcile with Jacob, and Dom allows him to escape in his car. Tej and Roman reach the International Space Station and are safely returned to Earth. The team celebrates their success with a barbecue at Dom's house. While preparing to say grace, Brian O'Connor arrives in his car, In the mid-credits scene, Deckard is surprised when Han arrives at his door. Alright. Also on Friday, we will be doing I Carry You With Me 2020 film. Here's a plot. Here's a premise in this film. Based on true love, this decade's spanning romance begins in Mexico between the aspiring chef Armando Espitia and the teacher Christian Vasquez. Their lives restart in incredible ways to societal pressure propels them to embark on the treacherous journey to New York City with dreams, hopes, and memories in tow. Alright. Also on Friday, we will be doing The Longest Yard 2005 film. Here's a plot in this film. Paul Crewe is a former NFL quarterback who was accused of shaving points, though it was never proven. Nevertheless, he was placed on federal probation for 5 years. One night, he gets drunk during a party and goes joyriding in the Bentley of his girlfriend, Lena, causing a police chase and the car to crash. His probation is revoked, and he is sentenced to 3 years in prison as a result. Using the influence and contacts, Texas Warden Rudolph Hazen, an avid football fan, manages to have Crewe transferred into his prison as he wishes to use him as a coach for his personal football team composed of his prison guards to boost his reputation for future elections as state governor. Using a week of hotbox to concourse him, Crewe recommends that the guards led by head guard Captain Kroner play a tune-up game, a game between the guards and a team that they easily slaughter to boost morale. Hazen tasks Crewe with forming a team composed of the prison inmates, believing that he will be unable to unite the unruly prisoners, thus not only achieving his goals, but also exerting his power over the inmates. Crewe befriends Caretaker, who helps her organize tryouts but finds a mostly inept Ruth Roaster due to Crewe's legacy. Seeing the team forming attracts former college football star Nate Scarborough, who decides to help coach the team by gathering several intimidating inmates. Most won't join in order to exact revenge against the abusive guards. Bolstering his defense, Caretaker implores Crewe to seek out assistance from the black inmates to gain some much needed offensive strength and speed. Crewe challenges their leader, Deacon Moss, to a one-on-one basketball game but refuses to call any fouls on Deacon. Despite them being blatant, Deacon wins and refuses to offer help, but Earl Maggot is impressed by Crewe's resilience and joins him as his running back. As the team gains strength, Hazen and the guards hinder Crewe's team in several ways, such as taunting Maggot into attacking a guard by verbally harassing him in the library with ethnic slurs. Maggot, however, does not retaliate. Deacon and the other black inmates witness this and decide to join Crewe's team to exact revenge. Meanwhile, inmate Unger spies on the activities of the inmates for the guards and is implored to use his talents to weaken their team. Unger rigs an incendiary explosive into the road in Crewe's cell, which Caretaker accidentally sets off and is sealed within Crewe's cell by Unger, preventing anyone from rescuing him. On the game day, the inmates are revitalized In the wake of Caretaker's murder, when Caretaker uses his connections to his cousin at Reebok to supply the inmates with quality uniforms and gear as well as giving them the team name Mean Machine. Crew deals with some difficulty getting the inmates to focus on winning the game during opening play, stating that the loss of them to them would be a far bigger mark of shame to the guards than any physical brutality they could inflict on them, though the guards take an early lead, even having the referees call bogus fouls on them, which Crew quickly amends. By the end of the first half, the Mean Machines tie the game. Hazen comes corners Crew during halftime, during which he reveals that Unger killed Caretaker and pressures Crew into allowing the guards to get a 2-touchdown lead, or else he will increase his prison sentence for up to 20 years and use him as an accessory to Caretaker's murder. Crew reluctantly agrees and Hazen orders Neuer to inflict as much damage as possible on the inmates once they get the lead. During the opening of the second half, Crew deliberately throws the game and abandons his teammates despite their efforts to catch up in scoring. After earning a 2-touchdown lead in the Mean Machines, the guards begin to brutally injure in the inmates, spraying Crew to re-enter the field. The inmates initially refused to help him, allowing him to be sacked twice, but on fourth down and long, Crew completes a first down on his own. Crew calls the team out and admits to his point shaving, both in this game and the one he had been accused of informing the team of Hazen's threats. He declares that he would rather stay with the inmates than betray Caretaker's memory. The Mean Machines rally behind Crew once more and with a decisive 2-point conversion. They win the game by a 1-point margin. Neuer, having newfound respect for Crew, congratulates him for the win and informs Crew that he is aware that he had nothing to do with Caretaker's murder and would defend him. As it admonishes Neuer for losing a fixed game and notices that Crew is heading towards the exit, eagerly implying Crew is trying to escape. As it orders that Crew would be shot, Neuer hesitates and at the last moment realizes, scornfully informs Hazen that Crew is only picking up the game football. Crew returns it to Hazen, telling him to stick in his trophy case. Deacon and battles then dump Gatorade on Hazen, while Crew and Scarborough go to get information on where Unger is so that Sitwotowski can deal with him. Alright. Also on Friday, we will be doing Necessary Roughness, 1991 film. Here's the plot in this film. The Texas State University Fighting Armadillos were once one of the most powerful teams in college football after winning consecutive conference and national championships. Massive NCAA violations resulted in the program having to forfeit years' worth of victories. All of the coaches were fired, and all of the players are banned from returning expelled from college except Charlie Banks, the only clean player who never get to play despite their having heart. This move forces new head coach Ed Gennaro Elizondo to build an almost entirely new team with a little assistance. No athletic scholarships are available, forcing them to hold tryouts. Along with this, They must worry about Don Dean Philip Elias Miller, who wants the team to fail so he can scrap it due to the corruption the football program has caused over the years. The funnel of the funding into his own pocket, the coaches soon have a makeshift team in place. Due to Dean Elias declaring many prospective players ineligible, only 17 players are allowed on the team, not enough for separate offensive and defensive squads. The Armadillos are thus forced to play an Ironman football. The team lacks experience and talent in all areas, especially at quarterback, place kicker, and the defensive line. Assistant coach Wally Rigendorf Loggia finds Paul Blake Bokula, a 34-year-old high school star who never attended college due to his father's death. Rick convinces him to enroll and become the Armadillo's quarterback. Blake arrives on campus and catches everyone's attention due to his age, especially Professor Carter Kozak. Blake then recruits a graduate student teaching assistant named Andre Krim Sinbad, who is also enrolled at the school and still has some eligibility remaining. Blake convinces him to join and he is positioned on the defensive line, where he excelled years earlier. Even with the new members, the team is unable to win. Carter tells Blake that she knows him from years earlier. Carter's ex-boyfriend was a high school football star, but Blake and his team humiliated him and his team in a championship game. This episode will actually cause Carter to become infatuated with Blake. Now, years after the fact, the two begin a romantic relationship with Don Elias, opposes due to their student-teacher dynamic, not to mention Elias' own lascivious interest in Carter. Coach Rigg makes one more recruiting move to secure a kicker. He shocks everybody by selecting Lucy Draper Ireland from the school's women's. Okay, alright, let's do some work now.